a former Canadian ambassador to China says Ottawa should issue a prominent and official warning to Canadian business people that commercial disputes in China could result in their being detained and having their passports seized. David Mulroney, who was this country's envoy to China from 2009 to 2012, says the case of 2 Canadian wine merchants held captive in Shanghai is a troubling sign of a bigger problem. He said this should be of particular concern for the Canadian government right now, when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to soon announce that Canada has agreed to China's request to commence free trade negotiations. Canada would be the first group of 7 countries to consent to bilateral trade talks with Beijing. Story continues below advertisement. John Chong, a Richmond, BC, businessman has been imprisoned in China for more than 20 months over a customs dispute that has been criminalized. His wife, Alison Lu, has had her passport confiscated so she cannot leave China. Mr. Chong, who is battling cancer while in detention, was celebrated in Canada for his entrepreneurial skills and regularly participated in trade missions to China with Canadian government officials. He even hosted Chinese athletes at his Richmond winery during the 2010 Winter Olympics. He was named an RBC Top 25 Canadian Immigrant Award winner in 2015 for his wine business. Mr. Mulroney said a high-profile warning is required because such incidents are not isolated. It's necessary because it's happening. And it's happening to people who were exemplars of everything the Canadian government wants to say about doing business with China. They were part of China trade missions. The former envoy said the number of cases of detention was growing under his tenure in Beijing. And he said he's worried they will happen more frequently under President Xi Jinping, whose term in office has coincided with a deterioration of human rights and rule of law in China. The Department of Global Affairs currently features one line in its travel advisory for China that says, Canadian business travelers have been detained and had their passports confiscated as a result of business disputes with their Chinese counterparts. Mr. Mulroney said this caution is buried too deep in a multi-page document and should instead be given prominent placement in advice offered by Canada to its citizens. Story continues below advertisement. Story continues below advertisement. The warning should be you may be caught up in a business dispute that morphs into a criminal dispute and you will be imprisoned or your passport will be taken away. And our consular ability to help you will be limited or none, the former envoy said. This shouldn't be page 11 of a 14-page document. Move it to page 1 or 2. Mr. Mulroney said incidents of Canadians detained in China over commercial disputes were increasing during his tenure in China, but that many of those ensnared in such matters preferred to keep quiet about what happened either because they had relatives in China or wished to keep doing business in that country. It's an all too common occurrence and it's designed to intimidate the foreign party.